Hello and welcome to this video. It's a Hearthstone meta report, and I'm going to be doing these every couple weeks or after a big meta shakeup. I'll go through the win rates of all of the decks. And this is June 4th of 2018, so let's get this started. Here we have the win rates of the top 10 decks on HearthstoneReplay.net. HSReplay.net, sorry. And tier 1 we have Odd Paladin barely beating out Even Shaman at 56%. And my future prediction for the deck is that it'll go to a sub 50 win rate. Maybe not in a week, maybe not in 2 weeks, but I think before the end of the expansion, Odd Paladin is going to go sub 50. And if not sub 50, then drastically lower, like at least 5% lower. Just because um where it used to do Shaman's job better than Shaman, now I think Shaman's doing its job better than it. And as you can see, in second spot we have Even Shaman, barely behind Odd Paladin. And another reason for Odd Paladin being number one, I think, is because a lot of people are playing it at low ranks, like above rank 5, above rank 10. There's a lot of play rate for it there because it's a cheap deck, and not a lot of people are playing it, and that skews the info. It makes it biased, and I think that's pretty heavy on why it is so high. Anyway, ranked position number 2, we have Even Shaman, barely behind with a 55% win rate, and I think in the future it's going to go up because it's the closest thing we have to aggro right now, besides Odd Paladin, and I think because of that, it has a chance to shine. I think it's going to go up and hold its ground. Not much else to be said there. And the start of tier 2, the very top of tier 2, you have Token Druid, and Token Druid's an interesting deck. Very fun to play. I'd recommend it. Anyway, it's sitting at a 54% win rate. I think in the future it's going to be pretty much indifferent. I think it's going to float around where it is right now, top of tier 2, possibly mid of tier 2. I don't think it's ever going to be tier 1. But, yeah. Right behind it, we have 53% win rate with Spiteful Druid. Spiteful Druid is the only reason it's on this list still is because there's such a limited amount of people still playing it that they have to be really good, and that skews the data. In the future, I think it's definitely going to be sub 50 by the end of the expansion. Next, we have Even Warlock at 53% win rate. I think it's going to be indifferent by the end, by the next report, because it's just a solid deck. It doesn't do anything too OP. But it like wins. It wins games against Even Shaman, and that's a big deck. It wins games against decks that try to do the same thing of it. It just outclasses them. But it's not it's not the best, it's not the worst, but it is the best in its class, and I think that's why it's going to stay indifferent. Right behind it, we have Murloc Paladin. I think this is the saving grace of Paladin players. I think with Odd Paladin and Even Paladin falling out, I think Murloc Paladin has its, what is it now, third or fourth time to shine. Um, I think he's going to go up a percent or two just because it's an aggro deck. We don't have much of it right now. And with there being barely any good 2-drops right now, we really need, or aggro really needs, something good on turn 2 for the next expansion, but currently they don't have very good plays on turn 2. And Murlocs, with your Rock Pool Hunters, your Blue Wheel Warriors, the 2/1 charge minion. They have a couple 2 drops, or their hero power is good in that deck too. That really brings it together, even though the 2 drops in the game aren't that good right now. So I think he's gonna go upper percent or two, but I still think Eva Shaman's gonna be the dominant aggro deck. Next we have Odd Rogue at exactly a 52.5% win rate as of me last checking it, which is today, June 4th. And I think it's gonna go up or 2%, 2 to 3%, because although it has a lower win rate than Murloc Paladin, I think that's because less people are playing Murloc Paladin, and that skews the info because they have to be good. Like I said, with Spiteful Druid, it skews the info to look like the deck's performing better than it is. But I think the real list would be even Shaman on top, and then Odd Rogue, and then Murloc Paladin for the list of aggro decks. Odd Rogue is doing pretty well, and I think um, even if it doesn't go up in win rate, I still think it's going to be pushing that tier 1 edge because it is a second best aggro deck right now, which isn't much to say because there is barely any aggro decks, but it's saying it's good enough to be an aggro deck at a time where aggro decks are in a worse spot than they've been in a long time. It's really saying something about the deck, and I think it's a good deck overall. Next, we have Spell Hunter. Spell Hunter is a really fun deck to play, actually, and it's sitting at a 52% win rate exactly. I think it's going to go up a percent or two, just because it is a decent deck. It's good against other decks. It's a good deck itself. Um, Next, we have Quest Warrior, which is also pretty fun to play, in my opinion, although that's not a popular opinion. It's sitting at exactly a 52% win rate as well, and I think it's going to go up a percent or two because of Odd Rogue, Murloc Paladin, and even Shaman getting more popular. I think it's obviously a counter versus aggro, and even though there's limited aggro, the deck holds well up against most control and mid range, and it dominates aggro. And there's more aggro, so I think obviously it's gonna go up. And then finally, at the bottom of the list, we have Recruit Hunter with a 51.8% win rate. I think it's gonna go down. I think it's not gonna make the cut next time I make this list because it's barely floating at a positive win rate right now. And it's the closest thing we have to mid-range Hunter, but when was the last time you thought about playing mid-range Hunter? It's not a very good deck right now. Even though mid-range is theoretically really good against control, mid-range Hunter just doesn't have that much insane stuff to do. Instead of something like Quest Warrior throwing down 8 damage hero powers every turn, or I was gonna say Spell Hunter refilling their hand with spells in a turn, or even Warlock putting down a bunch of giants on the board. It's just Recruit Hunter. Although mid-range is theoretically better than control, it just doesn't have enough tools to work with right now, and I think it's going to go down half a percent or a percent. Next, we have some fun decks to play that I'd recommend. First, we have Weapon Warrior. This is a deck that I made the list right here is my list. I've taken out Blood Knight for a extra silence, but this list, yeah, it's a bit outdated because of Blood Knight. But besides that, it's the newest list for me. A couple other people have made a list. You can discover the list you like for yourself, but it revolves around it's a Quest Warrior core for you to win late game, and other than that, you have Dead Man's Hand to replenish your hand, or to replenish cards back into your deck. You have control tools with Shield Slam, Executes, Slams, Blood Racers, Brawls, and then The neat part about the deck is that you run a bunch of weapons. You run 2 Fiery War Axes, you run 2 Blood Ragers, Arcanite Reaper, the Spellstones, you run Dreadcore Sail that synergizes with the quest. Um, it all turns out to be a borderline 50% win rate when all's said and done. I ended up getting a star or two out of the 20 or so games I played just because of win streak bonus, but that's pretty much a 50% win rate. It's not a deck I'd recommend you craft, but uh, it certainly is a fun deck. Malagos Druid is really fun. It's one of Firebat's. Firebat, obviously being the 2014 world champion, I think he's pretty skilled at Hearthstone. And Malagos Druid is a deck that he recommends a lot, and he finds it his personal favorite type of Druid right now. And it is really fun. I've tried a variant of it myself, and it's very fun just dealing 16 damage Moonfires or 32 damage Moonfires instead of 1 damage Moonfires. Then finally, Spell Hunter. Spell Hunter is just really interesting deck. First of all, it has 30 cards, all Hunter cards, and all of them are spells. And it works without Barnes Yasharaj. So, yeah, it's a neat deck to play. Not a more to be said, other than, yeah, Spell Hunter is a thing, and yeah, it's pretty fun. So that's going to conclude the video for today. End of the slideshow, you can see. Anyway, yeah, so this is going to be the end of the first meta report I've ever done, and I will be seeing everyone again soon next time we make a meta report, which hopefully should be soon.